What's up, you guys? I'm back again with another video, and in today's video I'm going to be answering a question that I get asked all the time on my stream, and I'm sure many of you watching this video, well, some of you have this same question. And the question is, Stoopzz, I'm new to PvP, which class should I play to get my first 2K achievement? I'm going to be offering my opinion. Again, it's just my opinion, you don't have to agree, but I'll be offering my opinion on the top classes that you should pick when starting out PvP and trying to push rating. So hopping right into the video, I'm going to be choosing one class from each category, that being melee, ranged, or caster, and then healer. Best answer this question, as I know many of you like different roles. And as you may have guessed from the character selection screen, for the melee class, I am choosing the Frost Death Knight. Now keep in mind, my picks are not just based on how well the class is doing overall, but I'm also heavily taking into account which class is easiest to pick up and play when trying to participate, start out, or push in PvP. Now, yes, there are warriors, yes, there are demon hunters. I have played the demon hunter extensively. There is the enhanced shaman, there's feral druids, but all of those other classes require a lot more work to grasp and understand your role. Sometimes you have a lot more utility. With the Frost Death Knight, you really don't have that much team utility. You just are a really heavy damage dealer, and you don't have that many abilities. And not having a lot of abilities allows you to more easily maximize your overall DPS in the arena. They're good in 2s and 3s, and once again, it's an easy class to pick up. You can simply just hop right on the class. You only have 2 or 3 main damaging abilities. You have your Sinjigorosa's Fury, that big dragon that flies out and does extra damage. You have your Death Grip. You do have, or have the option to use Anti-Magic Zone. You do have Icebound Fortitude, which is one of your other defensives, and you do have Anti-Magic Shell. But other than that, there's not much more to the class, and there's nothing per se wrong with that. It just allows players that are new to PvP pick up a class and begin doing max damage, and it's an easy class to participate in 3s or 2s, whether you're playing with like a warlock or a double melee like warrior DK or windwalker DK, demon hunter DK, or you can play Destro warlock frost DK, or you can play with a resto shaman in 2s, or a resto druid in 2s, or a discipline priest in 2s, or a holy paladin in 2s. They're used in so many different comps, and they are used because they deal so much damage, and it's again easy to maximize your damage. So once again, you can opt to play Demon Hunter or another class, but Demon Hunters require a little bit more awareness in terms of keeping up your momentum if you're playing that build. There's also multiple builds when you're playing the Demon Hunter. Whereas the Frost Death Knight, it only has like one build, and you might swap out a few talents like Blinding Sleet versus Winter is Coming, or maybe you would change your aura. But other than that, it's the same build overall. You don't have too much things like reverse magic or like any other massive team utilities that require extra awareness. You just have your anti-magic zone. They're a great class to pick up if you're new to the game, and I highly recommend the Frost DK for your first melee class. Going into the healer portion of the video, I'm going to recommend to new beginning healers or new starting healers in PvP, I'm going to recommend the Mistweaver Monk. Why? Because I feel that below 2K or even below 2200, after, keep in mind that if you're playing at the beginning of the season, it's going to be hard to get these achievements because there's a thing called inflation in PvP. But after the point of inflation, when it begins, you'll see a lot of player strategies or lower rated player strategies. They immediately just run at the healer. They chase the healer the whole game. It's a double melee comp, and they're running after you, and it's very frustrating, especially if you're playing like a Holy Paladin, which was a class that I was going to consider. But after giving it some thought, and I've said this in the past, the Mistweaver is really good for new beginning players because there's not too many defensive cooldowns you have to worry about, like Blessing of Sacrifice or Blessing of Protection or keeping up Earth Shield or Earthen Totem. You just are like a heal bot with insane mobility. Now, that's not to say that the class is boring. The class is a lot of fun, and it's been my go-to healer for a long time. But having insane mobility allows you to get away from these double melee comps and really take advantage of their strategy of just trying to chase you down the whole time. So after getting some practice in some battlegrounds, which by the way, Mistweaver Monk is one of the best healers in both battlegrounds and rated battlegrounds, after getting some practice, you'll learn how to kite much more effectively. You have short and reliable CC with your paralysis and your leg sweep. And again, you have insane healing output. They're great for healing double melee comps like Turbo or TSG or DH Warrior, comps like that, which are friendly to new incoming players that are trying out Arena. And after giving it some thought, I can't recommend the Mistweaver enough for new incoming healers that are striving to get their first 22 or 2k achievement in the arena. And now going on to the caster portion of the video. Yes, ignore the fact that my gear is yellow. I know I have to repair it. But when it comes to casters, to be honest, you guys, if you are new to PvP, I'm not saying playing a caster is necessarily hard, but it's a lot more stressful, and usually you have a lot more responsibilities on the team, like maintaining CC, maintaining your distance, learning when to effectively use your defensives or how to peel for your healer or your allies. Being a caster requires a little bit more work, and it's harder usually to maintain your damage output. Now, there are two options here after giving it some thought. I'm gonna go with the Elemental Shaman #1 or equally the Destruction Warlock. Why? Because I feel like the damage is very, very high for these two classes, and there's not as much responsibility when compared to like an Arcane Mage. Yes, Arcane Mages do insane amounts of damage, and I know people at home are going to say, are you kidding me? Do you know how overpowered Arcane Mages are? They require a lot of skill because you only have one school of casting, which is your Arcane. If you get kicked on your polys, you can't do any damage. You have to maintain distance. You are very, very squishy, and it's very important, again, that you land those CCs. The team will require you to land polymorphs. That is the point of a mage, to have massive control over the map. Whereas Elemental Shamans, you have Hex on a decently long cooldown. You do have Wind Shear, which can be a little bit overwhelming, and that's why casters, I would say, are just a little bit more difficult, because you do have a range interrupt most of the time, and you can interrupt important spells, where if you're a melee, it's kind of hard to interrupt one target if you're on another. Usually you're just going to be interrupting the target that you're on, unless they're like right next to each other. But the Destruction Warlock and the Elemental Shaman deal a lot of damage, and yes, Destruction Warlocks have Fear, but Fear, in my opinion, isn't always used in the same way Polymorph is used. Fear can be very disruptive, but a lot of times Warlocks will fear somebody and then begin casting a Chaos Bolt. They also have an instant CC called Death Coil. And then on the other side, or the other hand, the Elemental Shaman looks confusing from the outside, but you have a lot of schools of casting, meaning that if you get kicked on your Lava Burst, you can go into casting Lightning Bolts, you can go into casting your Stormkeeper, you can go into casting your Ice Fury, because they are on different schools of casting, so you don't get completely locked out. You also have a 1.5 minute cooldown on your wall, which is your main defensive ability. That's really helpful. You also have great mobility, so you can go into your Ghost Wolf form and kite. It will take some getting used to shifting in and out of your Ghost Wolf form and maintaining your Flame Shocks on the targets to proc your Lava Burst, and then sifting in and out of certain schools. It's very important that you sift in between your Ice Furies into Lava Burst. Make sure you're maintaining your procs. When they stack, use your Stormkeeper, maintaining your totems. But in my opinion, you have off heals, you have good mobility. Warlocks are insane when it comes to the amount of damage they can dish out. Specifically Destro, Affliction, you have to maintain dots and you always get trained down, but people will tend to run away from you after a while if you're playing Destruction Warlocks, which gives you some breathing room. Again, I cannot say, or I will not sit here and tell you that casters are extremely easy to play, but I will also not say that they're that difficult. I would just recommend, if you are new to PvP overall, I would go with the Frost Death Knight, or like a warrior, the melee side of the game first. Once you get comfortable with that, maybe try picking up a healer, and then try and work your way onto playing a caster. And it doesn't have to be an Elemental Shaman or a Warlock, but they're just my two recommendations for new incoming players that want to pick up a caster. But again, those are just my picks. You don't have to agree with me. It's just based on my experience. When players ask me, these are the answers that I give them, because I believe after playing many of these classes, they seem to be the most effective when it comes to PvP, and they're relatively easy to grasp. That's gonna do this video, you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to give the video a thumbs up. If you have any more questions on my picks, you can leave them in the comment section below, and I'll get back to you guys as soon as I can. Try not to miss me on my Twitch live stream where I answer all your guys' questions in depth. Do not forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.